The alien scout ship Zelithar descended silently into orbit around Earth. Its sleek, metallic surface shimmered faintly under the light of the distant sun. Inside, Captain Lyric stood at the main console, his translucent skin glowing softly as he studied the monitors displaying images of the planet below. Earth was a strange world, covered in vast oceans, sprawling forests, and towering cities. It looked beautiful, but Lyric knew better than to be deceived by appearances. To his people, the Valens, this place was known as a Deathworld, a planet inhabited by aggressive creatures that thrived on conflict and destruction. Beside him, Kira, his second-in-command, leaned closer to examine the data streaming in from their observation drones. Her sharp eyes scanned the reports carefully. She frowned slightly as she read about humanity's constant wars, their rapid technological advancements, and their ability to adapt to almost any challenge. "They're unpredictable," she said finally, her voice calm but tinged with concern. "What if they see us as invaders? What if they attack first and ask questions later?" Lyric nodded thoughtfully. He had considered the risks, but he also knew they couldn't ignore what they were seeing. The humans weren't mindless beasts like some other species they'd encountered. They were clever, resourceful, and determined, qualities that made them both dangerous and potentially valuable allies. "We have to try," he replied. "If we can form an alliance with them, it might save both our peoples." The Valens had come to Earth out of desperation. Their homeworld was dying, its resources nearly depleted after centuries of exploitation. Worse still, the Krill, a ruthless empire that sought to conquer weaker civilizations, were closing in on Valen space. The Krill were powerful, merciless, and seemingly unstoppable. The Valens needed help, and Earth might hold the key to their survival. After much deliberation, Lyric decided to send a small team down to the surface. They chose a remote area near a quiet American town called Willow Creek. It was far enough from major military bases to avoid drawing unwanted attention, but close enough to test human reactions. Disguised in holographic cloaks that made them look like ordinary humans, Lyric and Kira stepped off their shuttle and into the cool night air. As they walked cautiously through the dense forest surrounding the town, the sounds of crickets and rustling leaves filled the silence. Lyric felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. This was the first time he had ever set foot on a Deathworld, and he wasn't sure what to expect. Would the humans welcome them, or would they react with fear and hostility? Their answer came sooner than expected. As they approached the edge of the forest, they noticed a dim light coming from a nearby garage. A man was working inside, his hands busy tinkering with an old truck. Lyric gestured for Kira to stay back while he moved closer. When the man turned around and spotted him, he froze, gripping a wrench tightly in one hand. "Who are you guys?" the man asked, his voice wary but curious. Lyric raised his hand slowly, careful not to make any sudden movements. Through a translation device hidden in his cloak, he spoke in clear, measured tones. "We mean no harm. We're explorers." The man blinked, clearly startled by the calm authority in Lyric's voice. After a moment, he lowered the wrench slightly. "Explorers? From where?" "From beyond your stars," Kira added softly, stepping forward to join Lyric. The man stared at them for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Finally, he let out a slow breath and nodded. "All right, let's talk, but not here." He introduced himself as Jake, a local mechanic who ran the garage. Though he was cautious, there was something about the way Lyric and Kira carried themselves that made him curious rather than afraid. He invited them inside, where they sat down at a small table cluttered with tools and coffee mugs. For the first time, the Valens began to explain their mission and why they needed humanity's help. Jake listened intently, his brow furrowed in thought. By the end of their conversation, he realized that these aliens weren't so different from humans after all. Both species wanted the same thing, a chance to survive. And maybe, just maybe, they could work together to make that happen. Over the next few weeks, Lyric and Kira spent more time in Willow Creek, learning about the humans and their way of life. Jake became their guide, introducing them to the townsfolk and helping them understand human customs. At first, many people were suspicious of the newcomers, whispering behind their backs and keeping their distance. But as days passed, curiosity began to outweigh fear. One evening, Jake invited Lyric and Kira to his home for dinner. His wife, Emma, greeted them warmly, though she couldn't hide her nervousness. She had heard Jake's stories about the aliens but wasn't sure what to expect. As they sat around the dining table, sharing a simple meal of roasted chicken and mashed potatoes, Emma found herself relaxing. The aliens, disguised as humans, seemed polite and genuinely interested in everything she said. "So, you're from another planet?" Emma asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Yes," Lyric replied. "Our world is very different from yours. We came here because we need help." Emma frowned slightly. "Help with what?" Kira leaned forward, her expression serious. "Our homeworld is dying. Our resources are almost gone, and an enemy called the Krill is coming to take what little we have left. We thought Earth might be dangerous, but now we see that your people are strong and clever. Maybe we can work together to stop the Krill." The room fell silent as Emma processed this information. It was overwhelming to think that beings from another planet were sitting at her kitchen table, asking for humanity's help. Yet there was something sincere in their words that made her believe them. Jake nodded slowly. "If what you're saying is true, then we've got no choice but to help. Right, Em?" Emma hesitated before nodding. "Right. But how do we even start? We're just ordinary people." "You're more than that," Lyric said firmly. "You adapt. You survive. That's why Earth is still standing after so many challenges. You don't give up." As the conversation continued, Jake and Emma agreed to introduce the Valens to other trusted members of the community. Over time, the aliens earned the trust of a small group of townspeople, including Sarah, a sharp-witted journalist who documented their interactions, and Ben, a retired soldier who offered tactical advice based on his military experience. Together, they formed a tight-knit team dedicated to preparing for whatever might come next. Meanwhile, tensions grew aboard the Zellithar*. Some of the crew doubted the wisdom of allying with humans, fearing their unpredictable nature. "They could turn on us at any moment," one officer argued during a heated meeting. "We don't have a choice," Lyric countered. "Without their help, we won't stand a chance against the Krill." Kira supported him, adding, "Humans may be aggressive, but they're also brave and resourceful. Those are qualities we need right now." Back in Willow Creek, preparations moved quickly. Using materials scavenged from garages and workshops, Jake and Ben worked tirelessly to modify old vehicles and create makeshift weapons. Sarah used her connections to spread awareness without revealing too much, ensuring the town remained calm while secretly rallying support. Even Emma pitched in, organizing food supplies and teaching basic first aid to volunteers. Just as things seemed to be falling into place, disaster struck. One night, alarms blared across the Valen ship. A patrol fleet belonging to the Krill had detected their presence near Earth. Panic rippled through the crew as Lyric rushed to warn the humans. "We don't have much time," he told Jake and Emma urgently. "The Krill know we're here. They'll attack soon." Emma felt her heart sink, but Jake clenched his fists determinedly. "Then we fight, side by side." Lyric looked at them, admiration flickering in his eyes. For the first time, he truly understood why humans were called Deathworlders, not because they were cruel or violent, but because they refused to back down, no matter the odds. And so, the stage was set for humanity's first encounter with an alien invasion. Though fear lingered in the air, hope burned brighter. Together, humans and Valens prepared to face the storm, united by a shared purpose and an unshakable will to survive. The news of the Krill's approach spread quickly through Willow Creek. Jake gathered everyone in the town square, explaining the situation as calmly as he could. "They're coming," he said, his voice steady but urgent. "We don't have much time. If we want to protect our homes, and maybe even our planet, we need to work together." The crowd murmured nervously, but no one ran away. Over the past weeks, the townspeople had grown closer, united by the shared goal of helping the Valens. Now, faced with a real threat, they didn't hesitate to step up. Sarah raised her hand. "What do you need us to do?" Jake glanced at Lyric and Kira, who stood beside him. The aliens had already proven their trustworthiness, and now it was time for humans to prove theirs. "We need everything we've got," Jake replied. "Trucks, tools, weapons, anything that can help us fight back." Ben, the retired soldier, stepped forward. "I'll organize the defenses. We'll set up traps along the roads and in the woods. If the Krill think they can just march in here, they've got another thing coming." Emma nodded, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "I'll make sure everyone has food and medical supplies. No one fights on an empty stomach, and we'll need to treat injuries fast." As the meeting broke up, people scattered to prepare. Garages became workshops, where old vehicles were transformed into armored trucks. Hunters brought their rifles, while farmers donated metal sheets to reinforce barricades. Even children pitched in, carrying messages or fetching water for those working late into the night. Lyric watched all of this with quiet admiration. He had expected chaos and panic, but instead, he saw determination and teamwork. Humans were proving themselves to be exactly what Kira had described: brave, resourceful, and unwilling to give up. Kira joined him near the edge of town, where they could see the glow of welding torches lighting up the darkness. "They're amazing," she said softly. "I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad we came here." Lyric nodded. "Me too, but the hardest part is still ahead." Early the next morning, the first Krill ships appeared in the sky. They were massive dark shapes that blotted out the sun as they descended toward Willow Creek. The ground trembled under their weight, and a deep, ominous hum filled the air. People rushed to their positions, gripping weapons or standing ready behind makeshift barriers. Jake stood beside Lyric at the center of the town, watching the ships land. "Here we go," he muttered, raising his rifle. The Krill emerged from their vessels, towering figures clad in heavy armor. Their movements were precise and mechanical, and their glowing red eyes scanned the area with cold efficiency. Without warning, they opened fire, sending blasts of energy tearing through the air. But the humans were ready. Ben's traps worked perfectly, causing several Krill soldiers to stumble into pits lined with sharpened stakes. Others were caught off guard by ambushes launched from hidden positions in the trees. Jake led a group of volunteers in a daring charge, firing wildly to distract the enemy while Emma and a team of medics treated the wounded nearby. Lyric and Kira fought alongside the humans, using advanced violent weapons to take down Krill reinforcements. For every human weapon that jammed or ran out of ammunition, a Valen device offered backup. Together, they pushed the invaders back, forcing them to retreat temporarily. By the end of the day, the battlefield was littered with debris and smoke hung thick in the air. Though exhausted, the defenders cheered weakly, knowing they had won a small victory. Jake slumped against a tree, wiping sweat from his forehead. "We did it," he said, though his voice was heavy with the knowledge that this was only the beginning. Lyric approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You fought well today. Your people have earned our respect." Jake managed a tired smile. "And you've earned ours. Let's hope we can keep this up." As night fell over Willow Creek, the humans and Valens prepared for the next wave of attacks. They knew the Krill wouldn't stop until they were defeated, but neither would the people of Earth. United, they vowed to stand strong, no matter what came next. The victory in Willow Creek was short-lived. The Krill regrouped quickly, their forces growing stronger with each passing hour. Lyric called an emergency meeting with Jake, Emma, and the rest of the leadership team. They gathered in the town hall, a small, dimly lit room filled with maps, weapons, and supplies scattered across the tables. "We can't keep fighting like this," Lyric said, his voice low but firm. "They outnumber us, and their technology is far superior. If we don't strike back soon, they'll overwhelm us." Jake frowned, studying the map on the table. "What do you suggest? We've already hit them hard with traps and ambushes. What's left?" Kira stepped forward, pointing to a spot on the map. "Their command ship. It's the heart of their operation. If we can disable it, their forces will fall into disarray." Emma's eyes widened. "You want us to attack their main ship? That sounds impossible." "It is dangerous," Lyric admitted, "but it's our best chance. We'll need a small, skilled team to infiltrate it. Humans and Valens working together." Ben, the retired soldier, crossed his arms. "I'm in. Someone has to make sure you don't get yourselves killed." Jake nodded. "Me too. This is our fight as much as yours." Emma hesitated, then spoke up. "I'll stay here and coordinate support. If anything goes wrong, we'll need someone to organize the defense." Lyric looked at each of them, gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you. This mission won't be easy, but if we succeed, we might end this war before it destroys us all." The next morning, the team assembled at the edge of town. Jake, Ben, Kira, and 3 other volunteers, 2 humans, and 1 Valen, prepared for the mission. They carried stolen Krill weapons and gadgets reverse-engineered by Sarah and her team. Disguised in salvaged Krill armor, they hoped to blend in long enough to reach the command ship. As they approached the massive vessel, its shadow loomed over them like a dark cloud. The air buzzed with energy, and the ground vibrated under their feet. Jake took a deep breath, gripping his weapon tightly. "Stay close," he whispered, "and remember the plan." Using a stolen access code provided by Lyric, they slipped through a side entrance. Inside, the ship was a maze of metallic corridors and glowing panels. The hum of machinery echoed around them, and the faint scent of oil filled the air. They moved cautiously, avoiding patrols of Krill soldiers. At one point, they were nearly caught when a group of Krill turned a corner ahead of them. Thinking quickly, Jake raised his weapon and shouted, mimicking the harsh tones of the Krill language. The soldiers paused, confused, before continuing on their way. Kira shot him a look of approval. Good thinking. Finally, they reached the control room. The door slid open to reveal the Krill commander, a towering figure clad in black armor, its red eyes glowing fiercely. Surrounding it were several guards, their weapons ready. Jake stepped forward, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. "It's over. Surrender, or we'll destroy your ship." The commander let out a low, rumbling laugh. "You think you can stop us? You're nothing but insects." Kira activated a device strapped to her wrist, causing sparks to fly from the control panels. Alarms blared, and the lights flickered. The Krill guards turned their attention to the chaos, giving Jake and Ben the opening they needed. They charged forward, firing their weapons and taking down the guards one by one. The commander roared in anger, raising its massive weapon. But before it could fire, Kira lunged forward, using a Valen blade to disable its armor. With a final blow, she struck the commander down, its body collapsing to the floor with a heavy thud. Breathing heavily, Jake looked around the room. "Did we do it?" Kira nodded, a hint of relief in her eyes. "Yes, the ship is disabled. Their forces will retreat." As they made their way back to the exit, the ship began to shake violently. They ran as fast as they could, emerging just in time to see the command ship explode in a brilliant flash of light. The remaining Krell vessels hesitated, then turned away, fleeing into the sky. Back in Willow Creek, the townspeople cheered as news of the victory spread. For the first time in days, hope replaced fear. Jake stood beside Lyric, watching the horizon. "We did it," he said softly. "Together." Lyric placed a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, and this is only the beginning. The celebration in Willow Creek was short-lived. Though the Krill had retreated, the cost of the battle weighed heavily on everyone. Sam, a farmer who had been among the first to volunteer, had sacrificed himself to destroy a Krill dropship that threatened the town. His wife and children stood by his grave, tears streaming down their faces as Jake spoke quietly about Sam's bravery. Rachel, a nurse who had worked tirelessly to save wounded fighters, had collapsed from exhaustion and never woke up. Her absence left a void in the makeshift medical tents where she had spent countless hours tending to the injured. Emma visited her empty cot often, struggling to come to terms with the loss. She gave everything, Emma whispered one night, sitting alone in the dim light of the lantern. Despite the grief, life in Willow Creek continued. The townspeople buried their dead and cared for the wounded, but the scars of battle lingered. Jake walked through the streets each morning, checking on families and offering what little comfort he could. He carried the weight of leadership on his shoulders, knowing that many lives depended on his decisions. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emma found him sitting on the porch of their home, staring at the sky. "Do you think we'll make it through this?" she asked softly, sitting beside him. Jake hesitated before answering. "I don't know, Em, but I do know one thing. We can't give up. Not now. Not after everything we've been through." Emma nodded, leaning her head against his shoulder. "You're right. It's just, sometimes it feels like too much." "It is too much," Jake admitted, "but we're not alone anymore. We got the Valens fighting alongside us, and if we keep working together, maybe we can hold on long enough to win this war." Lyric and Kira also felt the toll of the battle. Back on the Zelithar they met with their crew to assess the damage and plan their next move. Many of their people had been injured or killed during the fight, and morale was low. Some questioned whether allying with humans had been the right decision. "We lost good soldiers today," one officer said during a meeting. "Was it worth it?" Kira stepped forward, her voice firm. "Yes, it was. Without the humans, we would have lost far more. They've shown us that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about standing your ground even when you're afraid." Lyric added, "The humans have taught us something valuable. They may be called Deathworlders, but they're not defined by violence. They're defined by their refusal to surrender. That's why we need them." The crew fell silent, reflecting on his words. Slowly, the mood shifted. Determination replaced doubt, and the Valens prepared to support their human allies in the battles ahead. In the days that followed, Willow Creek became a hub of activity. People worked around the clock to repair defenses and stockpile supplies. Sarah wrote stories about the heroes of the battle, sharing their sacrifices with the world. Ben trained volunteers in combat tactics, ensuring they were ready for whatever came next. Emma organized a memorial service for those who had fallen. The entire town gathered in the square, holding candles and listening as Jake delivered a heartfelt speech. "We lost good people," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But their bravery will never be forgotten. They fought to protect us, and now it's our job to honor their memory by keeping this town and this planet safe." As the crowd dispersed, Lyric approached Jake. "Your people inspire me," he said. "Even in the face of loss, they find strength." Jake managed a small smile. "It's what we do. We don't always understand why bad things happen, but we keep going anyway." Kira joined them, her expression thoughtful. "That's something we can learn from you. Maybe in time, we'll teach each other how to heal." The three stood together under the stars, united by shared struggles and a common goal. Though the road ahead was uncertain, they knew they couldn't face it alone. Together, humans and Valens vowed to stand strong, no matter what challenges lay ahead. And so, the alliance between Earth and the Valens grew stronger. Each day brought new hardships, but also new hope. For the first time, humanity wasn't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for something greater, a future where differences didn't divide, but united. The victory over the Krill command ship marked a turning point, But it wasn't the end of the war. The invaders still had forces scattered across Earth, and their attacks grew more frequent and brutal. Willow Creek became a stronghold, a symbol of resistance against the alien threat. Jake, Emma, Lurik, and Kira worked tirelessly to prepare for the next wave, knowing that the fight was far from over. One evening, as the sun set in fiery hues over the horizon, the townspeople gathered in the square. Jake stood on a makeshift platform, addressing the crowd. His voice carried both exhaustion and determination. "We've won battles, but the war isn't over yet. The Krill will keep coming until we stop them for good." Emma stepped forward, holding up a map marked with red circles. "Their forces are spread out now, but they're regrouping. If we strike first, hit their supply lines and smaller bases, we can weaken them before they attack us again." Ben nodded, his arms crossed. "She's right. We need to take the fight to them. But we'll need everyone's help, humans and Valens alike." Lurik raised a hand, drawing the group's attention. "My people have been studying their technology. With your ingenuity and our knowledge, we can create weapons capable of destroying their bases. Together, we can turn the tide." Over the next few days, the Alliance sprang into action. Sarah used her connections to spread the word beyond Willow Creek, rallying other towns and cities to join the fight. Farmers donated fuel and materials, while mechanics worked day and night to modify vehicles and build new tools of war. Even children helped by gathering scrap metal or delivering messages. Kira led a team of engineers in constructing advanced weapons using a mix of human and Valen technology. One device, nicknamed the Pulse Cannon by Jake, could disable Krill shields temporarily, giving their forces a critical advantage. "This is what happens when two species work together," Kira said proudly, showing off the prototype. "Something neither of us could have created alone." As preparations continued, Jake and Ben planned a series of coordinated strikes against Krill outposts. They divided their forces into small teams, each tasked with hitting a different target. The goal was simple: disrupt the enemy's operations and force them to retreat entirely. On the eve of the mission, Jake called everyone together one last time. Standing in the dim light of flickering lanterns, he looked at the faces of his friends and neighbors. "Tomorrow, we go on the offensive. Some of us might not come back, but I promise you this: we'll make every shot count. Every move we make will bring us closer to peace." Emma handed out packets of food and water to the volunteers, her hands trembling slightly. She caught Jake's eye and gave him a small, brave smile. "Be careful," she whispered. The attack began at dawn. Jake led his team toward a heavily guarded Krill outpost hidden deep in the forest. Using the pulse cannon, they disabled the enemy's defenses long enough to breach the perimeter. Inside, chaos erupted as humans and Valens fought side by side, overwhelming the Krill soldiers. Meanwhile, Ben's team struck another base near the mountains, setting explosives to destroy the Krill's supply depots. Flames lit up the sky as crates of ammunition and fuel ignited, sending shockwaves through the area. The Krill scrambled to respond, but the coordinated assaults left them reeling. At the largest outpost, Kira and her squad faced stiff resistance. The Krill commander there was ruthless, directing waves of soldiers to push back the attackers. But Kira refused to yield. With precise aim and quick thinking, she took down key targets, allowing her team to advance. By sunset, all three missions had succeeded. The Krill were in disarray, their forces stretched thin, and their resources depleted. As the Alliance regrouped in Willow Creek, cheers erupted among the exhausted fighters. For the first time, hope began to replace fear. Jake looked around at the weary but triumphant faces. "We did it," he said, his voice hoarse but filled with pride. "But let's not forget why we're doing this. Not just for ourselves, but for everyone who believes in a better future." Lurik placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. "You've shown us what true strength looks like. Together, we've proven that no challenge is too great if we face it united." As the celebration continued late into the night, The bond between humans and Valens grew stronger. They had started as strangers, even adversaries, but now they were allies and friends. And though the road ahead was uncertain, they knew one thing for sure. As long as they stood together, they could overcome anything. The final battle against the Krill came weeks later, when their remaining forces launched a desperate assault on Willow Creek. The town had become a symbol of resistance, and the Krill knew that destroying it would break the spirit of humanity and their Valen allies. But the people of Willow Creek were ready. Jake stood at the edge of town, watching as the dark shapes of Krill ships descended from the sky. Beside him, Emma held a rifle, her hand steady despite the fear in her eyes. "This is it," she said softly. "This is it," Jake agreed. "But we faced worse. We'll hold them off, together." Larek and Kira joined them, their expressions grim but resolute. "The Krill are desperate," Larek said. "Desperation makes them dangerous, but it also makes them reckless. We can use that to our advantage." Kira nodded. "Stay focused. Protect each other. That's how we win." As the first wave of Krill soldiers hit the ground, the defenders sprang into action. Ven led a group of volunteers in a fierce counterattack, using traps and explosives to slow the enemy's advance. Sarah coordinated communications, relaying vital information to fighters scattered across the battlefield. Even civilians who couldn't fight directly helped by carrying supplies or tending to the wounded. The battle raged for hours, the air filled with the sounds of gunfire, explosions, and shouts. At one point, the Krill broke through the outer defenses, forcing Jake and his team to fall back. But just as it seemed like the line might collapse, reinforcements arrived. Other townspeople who had heard about the attack and come to help. Emma fought alongside Jake, reloading his weapon when he ran out of ammunition and covering him when he needed time to recover. "We're not losing today," she said firmly, her voice cutting through the chaos. "No," Jake replied, firing another shot. "We're not." In the skies above, the Valen ship Zelithar engaged the Krill fleet, its weapons lighting up the clouds. Larek commanded the ship personally, directing attacks that crippled several Krill vessels. Below, Kira led a daring charge into the heart of the enemy's forces, using advanced Valen technology to disable their weapons and shields. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Krill began to retreat. Their ships lifted off one by one, disappearing into the horizon. The defenders cheered, their voices hoarse but filled with relief and triumph. When the dust settled, the people of Willow Creek gathered in the square. The town was battered, its buildings damaged and its streets littered with debris, but it still stood, a testament to the strength and unity of its people. Jake climbed onto the platform where he had spoken so many times before, his face streaked with dirt and sweat. "We did it," he said, his voice cracking with emotion. "We stood together, humans and Valens, and we showed them that they can't break us. This isn't just a victory for Willow Creek. It's a victory for everyone who believes in hope and courage." Larek stepped forward, his translucent skin glowing faintly in the sunlight. "You have changed us," he said, looking at the crowd. "Before we came here, we feared your kind. We called you Deathworlders, thinking you were too dangerous to trust. But now we see that what makes you dangerous is also what makes you strong. Your refusal to give up, no matter the odds. You are our allies, our friends, and our inspiration." The crowd erupted in applause, tears streaming down many faces. Emma hugged Jake tightly, her heart swelling with pride. "We did it," she whispered, "together." In the days that followed, life slowly returned to normal in Willow Creek. The townspeople worked together to rebuild, their bond stronger than ever. The Valens stayed to help, sharing their knowledge and technology to ensure Earth would be ready if the Krill, or any other threat, ever returned. As the sun set over the repaired town, Jake and Emma sat on their porch, watching the stars appear in the sky. "Do you think they'll ever come back?" Emma asked quietly. "I don't know," Jake admitted. "But if they do, we'll be ready. And this time, we won't just fight to survive. We'll fight to protect everything we've built. Far above, Larek and Kira stood on the bridge of the Zelithar gazing down at the blue-green planet below. They've taught us so much, Kira said. Yes, Larek replied. And perhaps in time, we'll teach them something too. For now, though, let's cherish this moment. Together, we've proven that even in the darkest times, there's always hope. Earth and the Valens had started as strangers, but they had become something greater, partners bound by shared struggles and shared victories. And as the stars twinkled above, both species looked toward the future, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, together.